Mark and Sarah Stamping Retreat. Today I thought that we would make some scenic cards with some pattern paper as the background of the scene to make them a bit quicker for Christmas. So we're going to be using a bunch of different stamps which I'll show you as we go through. We're going to be using this gorgeous first edition Arctic Wonder pattern paper pack. Now I will say that almost all of the products that I'm going to use today have been gifted to me either by Spellbinders or by DRK Crafts, but I will also say that I do get to choose those products. So with Spellbinders, they send me a selection of pictures from new releases and I can choose what I want from them. And with DRK Crafts, I'm on their design team, so this month they actually just sent me a voucher and let me pick my own things off anything on the website. So I'm not using things that I don't like. I really love these products, and also neither of those companies have asked me to make a video. I just like to show you what I'm doing, and I think they're really beautiful things to use. So let's have a look at this Arctic Wonder paper pad. It's really pretty. It's a 12 by 12 paper pad and it's got 48 sheets, so there's 3 sheets each of 16 designs. So the first one's a single-sided. You can see we've got these beautiful silver foiled snowflakes. We've got these gorgeous silver foiled stars as well. We've got these glittery snow globes. We've got these glittery houses and deer, and then you've got these glittery deer as well. I hope that the glitter's showing up on the camera. So then we've got some polar bears. These antlers, I think that's a really pretty paper. We've got the cute penguins, and then we go into double-sided designs. So we've got these trees with this wood grain on the back. We've got this pattern with this on the back. We've got the stripes with the penguins on the back. We've got this texty paper with the snowflakes on the back. We've got these little wreaths with the stars on the back. And we've got these gorgeous polar bears with the snowflakes on the back. We've got the tartan pattern with this kind of more scenic pattern on the back. And then we've got these season's greetings little pieces, and there's Merry Christmas on there as well. And that's got this on the back. So you can see it's a really gorgeous paper pack. And the reason that I wanted to use the pattern paper for the Scenic Greetings cards is that then I can use my stamps and I can colour the stamped image, but I don't have to worry about colouring a background or doing anything fancy for the background, so they're quicker than normal cards. So for the first card, I'm going to use this cute little car stamp from DRK Crafts. And I couldn't believe the price on these. I think I got 2 of these. I got a robin as well. I'll show you the other one later. I think they were something like 39 pence. They were so unbelievably inexpensive. And they're a nice quality as well. I've not used this one yet, but I've already stamped out the robin. And I didn't even need to prep the stamp. So let's see if this one's the same. You can see I'm just opening it now. So we'll see if it works as nicely. So let's stamp that out. I'm using my Altenew Jet Black ink. That's the Crisp Dye inks. Let's see if this one works without prepping. I mean, some stamps don't, so I'm not going to be, I don't think it's a problem if it doesn't, but we'll just see. And look how nicely that's stamped without even prepping it. So then, as usual, when I'm colouring, I'm going to use my Altenew artistry markers, and for this one I'm going to use this English Country Garden set. So I've got the crimson and the velvet, and I've done a lot of the colouring for the other cards already, but I thought I'd just do this quickly on camera. I'll really speed it up. But I just wanted to mention that I am absolutely not a colourist, but I do enjoy colouring, and I think you can get nice effects without being amazing at colouring. So I like to just go over with my lightest colour the whole image, and then afterwards I'm going to use the darker colour just to add in a little bit of shadow, kind of where I think it should go. Like on here I'll do it near the bottom, just under here, and it kind of just adds a bit of dimension. And I don't worry about where the light's coming from or anything like that, that I know kind of true artists will think about. But for me, I like the effect that you get just by adding a couple of different shades without thinking too much about it. And sometimes as well, on a lot of stamps, the lines on the stamp, or sometimes they even have shading on them, kind of give you clues as to where to put the darker colours anyway. So then I'm going to use my silver gel pen and Mr. Jelly Roll pen just to add some of these details on the back. And then let's bring in some different colours for the present. So just so that you know, in case you like to follow along with colours, all of the colours that I'm going to use for the whole of today's video are from either the Country Garden set, the Cosmic Garden set, or the Water Garden set. And so then when I cut this out, I want to put it onto this background. So I want it not to stand out too much. I don't want the white around the outside. So I've got this, which is all the swatches of all my Altenew markers, and I find this really good for doing stuff like this where I want to kind of match up a colour. So I'm going to go with this Morning Frost colour. And actually that means I'm going to introduce another set of markers, which is this Mediterranean Terrace Garden set. And I'm just going to colour all the way around the edge of this and through the windows using this marker, so it kind of blends in a bit better into the background. So then I can cut around here and leave a small border, but because it's got that brown around the outside instead of the white, then it's kind of going to blend into the page much better. It's not going to kind of stick out as much as it would if I had the white outline. So then I've got a 5-inch square white card blank. I've got a 5-inch square piece of this trees paper from the pack. And this paper is from this Neutrals Dovecraft paper pack. And it is paper as opposed to cardboard. It's fairly thin, but it's so nice for things like this. And you've got so many different colours. And you can see the colours, because you get so many different shades, you always seem to be able to find one that's going to match what you need. So then I'm going to use this Alex Siberia Designs Christmas Sentiments stamp set. So then this piece of paper is going to be kind of like my road. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment on here, and then I'm going to carry on markings like road markings, so the sentiment is kind of a bit like one of the road markings. And I want to heat emboss that in silver. And I'm going to use this Wow Polished Silver Superfine. And I would say that for sentiments like this that are so small, you do need a superfine embossing powder. So then we've got that We Wish You a Merry Christmas. And then I'm going to grab my silver pen that I was using a minute ago, the Jelly Roll one. And I'm just going to pen draw some more road markings on there. So then I can layer this up onto my card. And then I decided that my hand-drawn road markings didn't look as good as I wanted them to. So I've just cut a thin strip of silver mirror cardstock, and I'm just going to just cut some road markings from that and glue them on instead. I think that will look better. And then I'm just going to pop my little car up on foam pads. And then we've got this ever so cute little card. And because we stamped and hand coloured this bit, but the background was kind of done for us, then it hasn't taken forever, which I think is really nice for Christmas cards when generally we have more to make than usual. So for this card, I'm going to use this Spellbinder's House Mouse set. So it's got the mouse pulling the bauble, which I think is really cute, and bringing you love and joy this holiday and Merry Christmas. So I've pre-coloured the house mouse image, and you can see I've just cut around the top of it, and then I'm just going to stamp Merry Christmas down here in black. Now I've cut that down to 4 3/8 inches. And then I think this is a really nice way to use your pattern papers, because we've got these pretty stars. I'm going to use that as a starry sky, and it saves me doing kind of like a background for the house mouse. I'm going to pop that on there so that it kind of looks like that is part of the image. So I've got a navy card blank that's 5 inches square. I've got some silver mirror card that is 4.5 inches square, and then I've cut this down to 4 3/8, same as this. So the colouring is much quicker because you don't have to worry about the background. And then I can just layer these on. I think a lot of us have so many cards to send at Christmas that you can't necessarily spend ages and ages on all of them. But I think it's nice to have something that's like hand coloured. So I think this is a nice way to get around that, because you're just colouring the main part of the image, which is actually only a really small bit because you've only got that and that to colour really, because the rest is snow, and then we're using this paper as the sky. So I'm going to pop my mouse up on some foam pads to add a bit of dimension. You notice when I cut this out, I actually coloured around the edges with a green that is very similar to the green on this, so that you can't tell like that there are any white edges or anything. It kind of blends. And then I'm just going to add on a few little star sequins to kind of bulk out the sequins in the sky, to bulk out the stars in the sky a little. And then there's that card finished. You can see that the pattern paper on that has really made the card much more simple to put together, but you've still got that hand stamped image. You've kind of got the best of both worlds. So then this next card is going to be massively quick and simple. I'm going to use this gorgeous Noel house mouse set from Spellbinders, and I've just coloured this with those same colours, and this time you can see if I use my chart that I thought either Mountain Mist or Dewdrops was the closest colour, so I went with this Dewdrops. So I've outlined the stamping with the Dewdrops so that it kind of blends into that. But also what I didn't think about when I stamped this was that I want this to be in the centre here, but I want a line of white at the bottom. But you can see I've not actually made that wide enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere a strip of white cardstock behind here, and then that will blend in a bit better. So I've got a Stampin' Up! Pool Party card blank, and that is A6 in size, so that is 4 1/8 by 5 7/8 inches. And then I've got some of this really pretty snowflake paper, and I really like this one. And then my stamping is going to be the star of the show. That's what I want to stand out. That's what I have spent the most time on. So it's nice then to have the backdrop of the snowflakes, because I don't have to spend that time on the background. I've just literally glued it down. So let's glue on this strip to try and hide that mistake of mine. And then I'm going to pop this up on foam pads. And these house mouse stamps are just so beautiful. The amount of detail in them is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to pop that on like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a bit of glue behind either end. And that will kind of give it a bit more dimension because it's kind of curving down. But it'll also help it blend into that background bit a bit better as well. And then how cute is that? So then for my next card, I have stamped and coloured this little robin, which is the other one from DRK Crafts. And like I say, I think they were something like 39p, really, really good value for money. And again, I'm going to use this background for this one. So I've coloured it And I'm going to outline it in the same Morning Frost pen as I did the first card. And that'll just really help it to kind of look right on the page. So then for this card, I'm using this neutrals paper again that I used for the first card. And then I create a sentiment on here. So I want it to look almost like he's perching on a branch or something like that. So I think I'm going to use that same "We wish you a Merry Christmas" that I did on the first card. And I'm going to heat emboss it in silver again. Then I've cut down my sentiment. I can layer this up now. So then I'm using another 5 by 5 inch card blank. So then obviously this piece measures 5 by 5 inches from the neutrals pack. And then the piece of silver mirror cardstock is 4 inches square. And this piece here is 3 3/4 inches square. So then I'm going to put some foam strips behind here. And because it's paper, not cardstock, then I want to make sure I've got a decent amount of foam behind it. So I'm going to put on 2 strips, which near enough kind of covers that whole thing. And then I'm going to pop my cute little robin up on foam heads as well. And then our cute little card's finished. So then for my final card, I want to use my stamps to create a wreath. So then I'm going to use my stamp wheel for that. I'll put a link below if you don't have a stamp wheel for how you can do this with an ordinary stamp positioner, but you do need to create a guide for it. So this is actually a guide for where to put my piece of paper, because my paper is 4.25 inches square, and this is my 4.25 inch guide from Alternate. You can buy these separately from the stamp wheel, and you can see they come with a 5.56 inch square and a 4.25 by 5.5, and that way you can use it for positioning lots of different sizes in the middle. So I am just going to cover that with my embossing buddy, because the first thing I want to do is a little bit of heat embossing. And for this, I want to use this stamp set from Spellbinders, which is to go with some GNOME dies. And so all of the sentiments are to do with GNOME. Hearts go GNOME for the holidays, heartfelt hugs inside, GNOME from my heart for the holidays, you make me smile no matter what, and GNOME is where the heart is. So I'll show you those dies on a different occasion, but for now I want to use these snowflakes and these little branches. So I'm going to do the snowflake first. So I'm picking that up, but I want to make sure that it's central. So I'm actually going to just then slightly move it, just so that it lines up with this central line here. And that way I can make sure it's going to be central on my paper as well. So I want to heat emboss this snowflake. So I'm going to stamp it with my sticky ink. And then I've got that there. I'm just going to use this leaf as a placeholder so I can see where I want to stamp my next one. And then I can just move this round. So I think that I'm actually only going to want 4 of these. So I'm going to want to stamp on each of the 4 sides. So you can see when I use my stamp wheel, I have this heart at the bottom, and that helps me see where I need it to go. So I need this heart to go exactly that side, and then my heart's going to go up. You can see I've got it straight up there, and then next it's going to go straight out to the other side. So now I'm going to heat emboss those before I do the rest of my stamping. So then I'm going to use this just to put my cardstock back in the same place on here, and then I'm going to position this between those snowflakes, and then I'm going to stamp this in black. And again, I'm going to put the heart on each of the 4 sides. So this is the next side over here. So then I'm going to use the silver pen for these little berries to kind of tie it back in with the silver embossing. And then I'm going to use some of the kind of tealy colours, the Aqualish and the Teal Cave, to colour the leaves. And that'll tie in nicely to the background paper I want to use. I want to use this snowflakes paper again that I used for one of the previous cards. So again, I'm not doing anything special with my colouring. I'm just adding a bit of the lighter colour and then using some of the darker colour just to add a bit of shadow. I do think it adds some lovely kind of extra dimension. And then once again, I'm going to go around it all with the Dewdrops pen, and that will help it to kind of blend into that background. So now that I've got that outlined, I can just cut it out. Just a quick tip for doing this inside bit as well. I actually find it easier to have the scissors beneath the paper and cut that way because they catch less on the paper. I just find it easier. So I've got this like this, and I've also fussy cut this from the other snowflake paper. That's fussy cut from this one here. So then I just heat embossed this Wish You a Merry Christmas again onto some Stampin' Up! Pool Party cardstock, and I'm just going to put that on instead. So I've got another 5-inch square card blank. I've got a 5-inch square piece of gold mirror cardstock. Then I've got my pattern paper. I guess this card's not kind of so much of a scene as the others, but the pattern paper still kind of does that background job without us having to do whatever we would normally do in the background, ink blending or whatever we might do. So then I'm going to pop up my wreath with some foam pads. And then I'm going to pop up this snowflake in the middle as well. So then I'm just going to glue my sentiment across the middle of the snowflake. And then I've got this moonlight mix from Little Things by Lucy's cards. I'm going to use the silver embellishments out of this just to decorate the card a little. Put a little dot of glue in the middle of each of these snowflakes. And then I'm going to use some of the bigger gems around the outside. So there's that card finished. I think that's really pretty. So now all 5 of today's cards, and using those papers as backgrounds really sped up the process, because if we'd had to colour the backgrounds or even ink blend them or anything as well as colouring the images, that would have taken so much longer. And I think that's really nice to do sometimes, but then especially with Christmas cards where a lot of us have quite a lot to make, it's quite nice to just speed up that process a little bit, and we've still got really beautiful cards, but the backgrounds have kind of been done for us. So please do let me know which is your favourite of the cards in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below. You can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are linked in the description below, and you can also find a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.